Good afternoon, this is Mr. Finkbeiner coming to you today with our training guides for temperature and health screening. Really quickly, I want to tell you what needs to happen if you are one of our volunteers who's screening students on the way in. First, you do need to wear a mask. I'm going to put that on last so that you can hear. You do need to wear rubber gloves, which will be provided by the school. And once you get your gloves on, you can move on to the next step, which is placing your face shield over your face, like so. The next thing you'll have are your questions and your chart should somebody be symptomatic or have a temperature. You'll also have your walkie-talkie, which is on my belt, in case I need to call for somebody to help supervise a student who's not feeling well. I got my gloves, mask going on. So imagine I'm wearing my mask, face shield, and now our first person is pulling up right now, and notice they're both wearing their masks. They're staying in the car. We're now at the car with our sheet with our 3 questions. Our student is in the car, and I have my thermometer. I'll ask the first question now. Have you had close contact within 6 feet for 15 minutes in the last 14 days with somebody who has been diagnosed with COVID-19? Or have you been contacted by a healthcare provider regarding quarantining? Yes or no? Oh, good. Question 2. Since you were at school last, have you had any of these symptoms? Fever, chills, shortness of breath, a cough, or the loss of taste or smell? Good. This is question 3. Since you were at school last, have you been diagnosed with COVID-19? Great. You're now ready for step 4, which is taking your temperature. Perfect. 98.7. Under 100.4. You've got your mask on. Come on into school.
Have a great day, honey.
Imagine a student answered no to all 3 questions, but when I scanned his or her temperature, the temperature was above 100.4. That student does not necessarily have to go home for the day. You can ask the parent, would you like to wait 5 minutes and do a second temperature screening? If it's below 100.4, she could then come in.
Yes, please.
Great. 5 minutes later. All right, you're back down to 98.7. Come on in.
Don't forget your book. Thanks, Mom.
If the student or the parent answers yes to any of the questions or has a temperature above 100.4, it's important to record that information in our chart. On the chart, you'll record the student's name and grade. You'll record if they said yes or no to question 1, 2, or 3 with a simple Y or N, and then you'll record their temperature when it was taken. Yes to any of the 3 questions, and a temperature scan of above 100.4 twice means that student would need to go home. The information collected on students who did not pass the health screening test should be shared with the office at the end of student arrival. In a situation where a student either walks to school or is dropped off and the parent has already left, and they don't pass the 3 questions and the temperature screening, that student would need to be quarantined immediately. I would pick up my walkie-talkie and I would page simply saying assistance needed in the community room or in the front office, depending on what campus you're on. That student would immediately go to the community room or our isolation room at the Omega campus under adult supervision until a parent or guardian can pick them up. You'll see here the document that was mentioned where we write the name and grade, the date, a yes or no to the 3 questions, and temperature 1 and temperature 2 if it applies. This chart only needs to be filled in if a student does not answer the questions no or if the student has a temperature above 100.4. You do not need to fill this in for a student who passes the health screening questions. Yes, to any of those questions, they may not come into school. If a student has a temperature above 100.4, either once and then decides not to get a second temperature test, or on both temperature checks, they cannot come into school. It's either or. Answering yes means you go home. A temperature above 100.4 means you're going home for that day. You'll see attached in this email with this video the checklist. Here's all of the materials that will be provided to you, as well as your 1, 2, 3, 4 steps and details from the video down here in the gray box. If you have questions about any of the matters covered in this video, please feel free to reach out. And thank you for helping us to make sure Mount Lebanon is a safe and healthy place.
Have a safe day.